the more that you move, the better off you're going to be. It sounds counterproductive. Had you gone and done a light workout the day after a really difficult workout, you would have decreased both the level of your soreness and the length of your soreness.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, girl. What's happening?
You know, it's just happening. We're just doing it.
We're on a Monday today, which, did you have a nice weekend?
I had a great weekend.
Fantastic.
I feel like I'm enjoying the summer to the fullest.
That's a good feeling.
You know,
you don't want to be having any FOMO.
No, I think sometimes when you get to August, especially, you start to go like, oh no. Well, I start to
panic sets in.
You know what? It's me. I started to do that because this morning we had a morning huddle here at CVG, and two things happened. Number one, Ben threw out a countdown to Christmas, which was really uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. I feel like booing. I was like, I said like, ew, David, because from the last podcast to now we're using that to like tell people they've said something undesirable.
Yes.
So, ew, David.
David. And then the second part of that was then Jess said she was waiting for 60-degree weather, which is the bane of my existence. Like the closer we get to it cooling down, I start to feel sadder and sadder. And I was like, ew, David.
Well, I have a built-in, like I'm scarred because as a former teacher,
yes,
once August hits, everybody knows that it's just you start panicking.
The summer, it's like the Sunday scaries, but like but like teachers have more of like a month. The rest of us just do that all year round because there's no break.
Yeah, sorry for you guys.
Teachers have that August scaries. I made that up for you guys.
I like it. And it's also just like, it's so much to get done in so little time when you live in a climate that, there's a clear summer and a clear winter. And we have a lot to do and we have a lot to get done. So I'm really glad to hear that you felt like you crushed your weekend.
But also, I was driving yesterday and I saw that the sign went up for the Spirit Halloween store. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh my God, Rory's going to be so excited.
The King of Halloween is going to be so ready for it.
Self-proclaimed.
And I do think that like there are definitely fall people who love the Halloween. You know what? I have a question. Has Halloween just gotten bigger like over the years, or have I just been numb to it? Like has it always been like this like major
I
holiday?
don't think
it
so.
Like a major holiday.
No, I think it's gotten, this is obviously can be up for debate because some people say they've been living this life, but I feel like just like everything else, the pandemic really like made certain things explode, Halloween being one of them. And I feel like Halloween is bigger now than it's ever been. It's like there's so many people that are so dedicated to it. They're so into it and they're starting now. They're like I've already gotten messages from people being like, what's the, like, so like Halloween leggings, like, what are we doing, guys? And I'm like, oh, why would you?
Don't worry, we know it's a holiday.
Listen, we're on it, okay? There's going to be some amazing things, but like, guys, it's August. Can we live a little bit in the?
I think you're
I'm going to the beach.
I would have been okay with us being on opposite sides of this with like it's just always been this big, but like I feel like the pandemic really brought out like some of the things we were dabbling with in our lives that we weren't sure if we wanted to like explode them all the time. And I feel like Halloween, like people really enjoy
death.
Is
that it? To become obsessed with death?
But like people really enjoy the whole feel around it. The whole like I get to dress up, I get to be someone else. A spooky season, I love to be spooky. Like I think there's like a whole vibe around it, and everyone was just like, "Don't care. I love spooky. I'm the king of Halloween. sit down if you're not. Like,
I mean, I'm here for it. I mean, my son is literally self-proclaimed king of Halloween, and we listen to Halloween music all year round,
all year
and
round. He puts on Jack Skellington like it's no thing.
it's just
Like it's
it's a
life.
lifestyle,
Yeah,
really. It's a
it's a
lifestyle you have to
lifestyle.
commit. And I mean, for who it's so this is what I've been doing lately, and this is what I've been doing about the feast too. Is like, listen, if something makes you happy, just go full force. Like,
I'm glad you're
you
on
don't
board
need
with
to be
this.
cool. You don't need to be, it doesn't need to be popular. It doesn't need to be a popular opinion. Like, if something gives you life, if you want to celebrate Halloween in August, I'm here to clap for you. I'm not going to do it because I'm at the beach, but
Because I'm
I
living my own life. I'm living my own truth.
exactly because
Yeah.
that's where my happiness is. But I'm certainly not going to be like, oh my God, how could you? You can't do that. That's illegal. So this is what I was saying to you about the feast, because we have this funny, I'm sure
We refer
every
to it like the feast. Like everyone around the world knows about the Madeira feast.
I'm pretty sure it has like records for like the most drunk people. Is it
No,
the most
it's
alcohol
we've got the records
consumption?
here for the most drunk people.
No, it's like seriously, it's like the most alcohol consumption in one weekend, like nationwide or something. I don't know. It has some kind of claim to
We
fame, like
really like to hold our proud records.
yeah, the drunkenness records. We're really crushing it. So we have this thing. If you're not from this area, you don't know the feast. It's called the Feast of the Blessed Sacrament. It's like the Madeira one. We have a very large population of Portuguese people in New Bedford. I happen to be married to one of them. That's why I'm in Aruda. And we are it's a saint or
You know what?
something.
It's a really large Portuguese population, so much so that the fact that I'm not Portuguese, I was told growing up that a I am Portuguese by association, because my best friend's family, like her dad literally was born in Portugal. So he was like, "You're just like our little blonde Portuguese daughter."
You're accepted into the New
Yeah.
Bedford lifestyle. And so we have this once a year. We have this weekend of what people locally call the feast. And you basically go and drink Madeira wine. If you've never had Madeira wine, it's the most disgusting thing you've ever tasted
That's not
ever.
true. Rocket fuel.
Disgusting. It's like moonshine. It's the moonshine of wines.
Yeah.
It's like you're not here for the taste. You're here to get hammered.
Yeah.
And it is just a giant gathering of people roast meat on sticks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing. And like people in this area get really super excited, but I'm only in Aruda by marriage, so it's not my thing. But like people are waiting at the gates on Thursday night for it to open, and they don't leave until like Sunday afternoon when the gates close. And this is like a major event. People are like counting down the days till, and I just
get it. It's a major event.
it's not for me personally, but that's what I'm just doing now. I'm just going like, yes, I'm so excited for all the feast people who are going to live their best life these couple days.
It's like that's what happens there. Yes, there's like carnival rides. It's like a carnival. But what it really is a gathering of everyone from the area. So it's almost like having a high school reunion, like every year.
Which I
haven't gone to
all
a single
costs.
high school reunion.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm gonna not.
yeah,
that's
I
not
had mine.
gonna be for me. Because like I'm trying to, if I see someone in the grocery store, I just try to like go in the other aisle. So there's definitely not going to be a situation where I'm going to seek out a high school reunion. Like that's not going to be for me.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not one to seek out a high school reunion either. I also don't like large crowds. I don't. So it's a lot of
meat on a stick.
It's like, so it's in August. We're in the middle of a heat wave. It is hot. People are close together, gathering in real close, condensed pack it all in. Like,
It's
you're
stinky.
definitely
It's
gonna
a
get,
stinky place.
like, the Madeira wine is red, so you are gonna get it spilt on you and it feels sticky. These things are just not for me. Like, all those things together are not for me. But what I want to say is that, like, I think that every, like, different areas have these events that kind of make them specific to their area. Like, I know I was looking at one in Montana, and now I'm gonna mess this up because I can't remember what it is. But basically, was this Montana? Basically, you take old cars and, like, you push them off, like, the ledges of things, and, like, it's a whole thing. Like, people do it. And then in other places, there are, like, it's like a bar ski. So you none of this sounds safe, but you would take, like, things from like, the bar, and you see how fast you can go, like, skiing over like, snow. But it's made from, like, things that you find there. So it's like bar stools, and, like, people get real creative with it, but they pretty much make these devices to go fast over snow. And I think just, like, different areas have these traditions that are really unique to them. And I think that's cool. I think the whole thing is just, like, some of them, like, they might not be for you. Like, the participation really isn't there. It's kind of like fireworks, right? Like, when did we decide it was super American to just, like, blow shit up? Like, when was that, like, a thing that we're like, yeah, we're just gonna, and then there's gonna be sparkles in the sky? I don't know, but I'll sit there and watch the fireworks, even though I don't really like loud noises, for being serious.
I also like the idea of, the love where you live, or at least just get
Yeah,
a kick out of it.
just
I
get a
get a
kick
kick
out of
out
it.
of the fact
Yeah.
that we do this thing every year, and that it's like, a thing. I'm sure Isley gets a kick out of the cars being pushed off ledges. I'm not sure that that's so funny. But
I don't
it's
know,
just
it's just
it's a
old
love where you
cars.
live type of
Yeah.
thing, and it's like this is unique, and I do think that, there's a certain amount of, I guess, nostalgia and appreciation for wherever you grew up, and it kind of is in your blood, and it makes you you. So I would like to hear other people's, like,
I wanna know your things. Like, does your town have one? Does your state have one? Like, what is it? Like, tell me about it, because the more that I started hearing about the different ones, I was like, "Wow, that's really interesting, and how did I not know about this?" I mean, like, I guess, like, just the people in the area, but let's share them.
I love that
Let's
idea.
share
I
your
want to
thing.
hear your Madeira feast. What's happening in your area? So on today's episode, we wanted to talk a little bit about being sore, because there is so much, I think, misconception around being sore. And I also think that it is a major source. You were saying it was a major source of either, like, contention with people when it comes to working out, or like something they're super duper seeking out, and like the workout wasn't good unless they are sore, and that's how they mark progress, is how sore they are. So it could be something that you really shy away from and really hate. It could be something that at this point you're pretty used to, or it could be something that you're seeking out. But just getting some of the science behind why we get sore, how sore you should really be. Should we be using this as a marker of a workout? Was it only a good workout if you're super sore afterward? And some tips and tricks on, like, how we can minimize soreness so we can get back to living a normal life and sitting on the toilet without crying out in pain, walking down the stairs without, I had to go sideways the other day, and I was like, this is weird.
That's
Um,
adaptive.
yeah, so we want to talk about being sore. Are you going to talk about being sore?
Oh, sure. Well, I think that for a lot of people, we've had this misconception that lactic acid is what we are blaming for soreness, and that's actually not true. It's a byproduct of when muscles are forced to make energy anaerobic, which means, like, function without oxygen. So, like, all of our bodies do a ton of things in response to exercise, in response to basically anything that we do when it comes to like inflammation, where we're going to send blood flow. Like our bodies are amazing and continuously adapting to what we're doing. So when you're doing, some low intensity movements like walking, like jogging, slow biking, your muscles can get the energy that you needed through the oxygen as you're going, because you're getting a sufficient enough amount of oxygen as you're doing these kind of like slow rate movements. But when you up the ante, like when you're doing like sprints, lifting, anything that you are not able to basically meet your oxygen levels with the exertion that you're doing, your muscles aren't able to keep up with the demand. So they start creating energy without the oxygen because you're demanding this movement from them. So the byproduct of this process is some lactic acid.
This is cool because, first of all, before we did this podcast, I did not know this. I was still coaching and telling people, we got to flush that lactic acid out. We got to flush it out. We got to get that out of your muscles so that you stop being sore. I actually did not know that it was more complex than just because lactic acid does get built up in your muscles. That is true. And a lot of people have sort of like just done a cause and effect. Like, okay, so there's this new thing present in your muscles that's lactic acid. So, and then they become sore. So that must be the reason. But actually, all of these new studies have shown that most of it is actually gone within 1 or 2 hours after the strenuous activity. Mm-hmm. So the lactic acid is there, it's present in your muscles, it's full of lactic acid after it's been forced to do that anaerobic energy expenditure.
Can I pause here for a second? Because one of the things, what?
Sure.
One of the things that I was thinking about is just that, like in fitness, especially in any field, once we're taught something, we can just stay with that and never adapt to new information that is presented. And you can see this like across the board, where people will just, regardless of new information that's presented to them, they will just say like, no, the only way to do this is this way, because that's how I've always been saying it. And kudos to you for being a coach and a leader of the community and continuing to gather new information that is presented and saying like, so I used to think that it was this and, say this a lot. And now I've been given new information and I've learned and adapted to that. That is truly the sign of a great coach. So I just want to.
Well, geez, I didn't know we were during that. Well, thank you so much.
Well,
I mean,
it's only
I was stupid and now I'm not.
No. To do it. No. You adapted, like your
muscles.
It was a
common, yeah, and it was a common. As we know more about the human body, which is like, this is one of the things I think that is so unique about fitness specifically and nutrition, and just like the study of the human body is like, we're never gonna know everything. And so like that's like a real gift and a curse, because we are constantly finding out new things that are debunking old things. And then we are again under the assumption that we still don't know everything. So this one might be debunked later. So we're getting closer. But I think that it is interesting that that lactic acid being present isn't actually the enemy. And in fact, what is most interesting about this, because it's gotten such a bad rap, you got to get that lactic acid out of there. Actually, the presence of the lactic acid is what signals to your body to repair. So it being there is like a great thing, actually. It's only there for a couple hours after you work out and then it's gone. But it sends that signal to your body like, uh-oh, there's been damage. We're going to send out repair. And without it, your body would not know that a certain area needed extra attention. So it's actually a really great thing. And it's definitely not something that we want to demonize.
Yeah. I mean, well,
that's rad, right?
Your body is always doing the thing to do what its one job, which is repair itself, keep you alive. Like that's what it's doing. So if it's sending something there, it has a reason. We're like, no, we have to fight against this. It's like your body is always going to be smarter than you. So what's actually going on? Muscle soreness occurs because muscles and the connective tissue around it are damaged during exercise, and that's completely normal. Like when we use damaged, it usually gets this like, oh my God.
Well, people think of damage and injured as like synonyms, but in this case, the damage, like we're putting it on ear bunnies because it's on a microscopic level. Like these are microscopic tears in your muscles that actually are a great thing because when your muscles are forced to adapt to a more difficult stimulus, what they need to do is break down and repair themselves. Honestly, if you just think of that in life, like
I
these huge
know.
obstacles that
Yeah.
we like all face and like seem so huge at the time and just so catastrophic and so negative. Actually, these are all the building blocks to making us more adapt, more stronger in our life, and more able to face obstacles with a better set of, you know,
Tools. Every
dude,
time you
dude,
get more tools in your toolbox.
right? And
It's
that's everything that's all the muscles are doing. That is soreness. It's getting damaged to break down to rebuild stronger. And if you think of that as every life obstacle, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm
I
here for
mean,
that.
yeah, that's a synonym for life for sure. So like what happens when we're gonna break something down and build it back up? And that is going to indicate, I mean, how many tears you have is going to indicate how sore you are. And so like I a lot of people so we have two directions. A lot of people are avoiding soreness and a lot of people are looking for soreness. So I feel like, as you progress in your fitness journey, you become a little bit more indifferent to muscle soreness. That's my experience anyway, because like there is never a time where I'm really looking to get super sore, or there is never a time where I'm like, I'm not sore enough. It's not an indication of my fitness at all. It's only an indication of your body's adaptation to that physical demand. So the reason why I say like an adaptation to that physical demand, like we kind of use it as a gauge of like how fit are you? Like that's really not the case here. Because like soreness, and like let's talk about how delayed it is for a little bit. Like soreness often onsets between like 8 hours after your workout, but it's at its peak between 24 and 48 hours. But it can last up to 3 to 5 days. Everyone is probably like, mine is lasting a little bit longer. Totally fine. That it's lasting between 3 and 5 days. It's not going to really last any longer than that. But how quickly you recover is going to depend on a number of factors. You can do things to speed up this recovery, to aid this recovery, because you're always either doing things to help your body repair and adapt or not.
Or not. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's going to repair and adapt on its own, but the speed at which it's going to happen is definitely it can be triggered by environmental things that you are in control of, which is, a good thing. But dude, that second day sore, oh Lord. And that's how you also know that that's like a lot of the research behind why it's not the lactic acid, because when you measure lactic acid muscles or levels in the muscles, it's they're there right an
Pretty
hour
usually.
before workout. Yeah, an hour after your workout, but you're not super sore an hour after your workout. It's at 2 days. That people call it DOMS because it's a
Delayed
delayed
onset.
onset muscle soreness. But that second day sore is like the worst. And I think it always catches people by surprise too, because they did a hard workout, right? The next day they're like, I'm a little sore, but I'm okay. And then the second day they're like, I'm immobile. I need to die. I can't like walk down the stairs.
Well, here's the thing with that too, is that like depending on what you did the next day, so we know repair is going to depend on, we're going to give you some tips, but like the repair is going to depend largely on the blood flow that you're getting to your muscles as their repair process is happening. So if you had like a rest day, like right after you had a really hard workout, your soreness might be a little bit worse the second day after because you didn't increase the blood flow to that area during the time that you know, had limited physical activity on the next day. So that's why a lot of the I don't want to say like treatment or like tips for, you know, muscle soreness is activity, because we want to increase the blood flow in those areas to assist with that repair process. So you don't get that really like sore and stiff feeling. You know what I'm talking about? Like there is a sore muscle feeling, and then there's that like sore and stiff, and that's way worse because then you're just kind of like, I don't want to move out of this chair.
Yeah, that's soreness to a level where your joints are sort of they have a lack of mobility. Yeah, that's definitely tough. And like you said, you know, there is an adaptation level. There's even in your brain, like what you get used to as far as being sore. So, you know, of course, people are the most sore when they're starting a new thing, right? Because their muscles are needing to adapt at levels that are not the same as something that you've been doing for, you know, 6 months.
Oh, 100%. So any of the newbies out there, or if you've taken a break from fitness and you've come back and you're like, "Oh my God, I am so sore. Is this going to be forever?" The answer is no, it's absolutely going to get better because there's two things happening there. Like your muscles will adapt, and at least some of them will adapt a little bit more. So when you are first starting out, you have so many muscle groups that have not adapted to the physical demands that you're putting on them. And as you know, progress in those same movements, some of them will have adapted a little bit more. So you won't have that all over sore feeling. You might be like, my calves are a little bit sore because like the extra demands on that is my muscles haven't adapted to that yet. But like it won't have that like every piece of my body is experiencing a new physical demand, and we're all figuring out how to adapt. So then you're just feeling like I have that all over the body soreness, where like that will improve with time as your body starts to adapt. And then you'll have ebbs and flows, right? So like, you know that if you are an athlete who has been doing weeks of like slow rate cardio, where you're doing like just some like running, like slow rate running, maybe like you're going over miles and miles and miles, but you have a sprint workout and you are super sore after the sprint workout. Well, that's 100% normal because your body has adapted to those like long runs at a slower rate, and it has not adapted to the sprint workout. And the same goes with weight training. Like recently, I did some like obstacle stuff, and I am in pretty good shape and it translates well, but I had some like weird sore spots that I wasn't used to because like those parts of my body, those muscle groups had not adapted to the physical demands that I was asking from them in that specific way.
Because it was different.
It was different.
Yeah. And I also want to mention why a lot of times, you know, people that have been working at slower rates are not experiencing soreness until they up the intensity a little bit is, you know, what we said in the opening is that when you are, you know, walking or light jogging or doing something that your muscles are not going to need to produce energy anaerobically, they can do it with the oxygen that's available, then you don't get that same stimulus of lactic acid rushing in, the body needing to repair all of those microscopic tears. It's not the same. It's going to be more intense as the intensity increases. So, you know, that's why you know, a high intensity workout is going to get you a little bit more than going on a 5-mile walk as far as soreness goes. Even if the high intensity workout was 7 minutes and the walk took you 2 hours.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's, you know, I think that.
Or even, you know, subbing in weight training there. I mean, that's why, you know, we're always kind of promoting like the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to some of the workouts, but also mixing it up, making sure that like you have some weight training in there, and that you know, aren't just every day at that slow rate cardio, because we need to demand in order to build our muscles up, we need to break them down a little bit more. So break them down to build it up, and we got to do that in different ways.
In order to be a person who is ready to face challenges, you have to have faced challenges before. So the same thing with your muscles. And, you know, I also think that it's a really interesting thing when it comes to soreness. When you get to be a little bit more of an experienced athlete, and you're not like that full body cast kind of sore where you're starting a new thing, you can actually start to recognize muscle groups that are underdeveloped
Yes.
or not firing correctly. If you are, months into your fitness journey and you're getting that kind of steady sore where it's like, it's not debilitating, but like you feel like you've done a workout, but then you do, some deadlifts and you just are like your hamstrings and glutes are just like destroyed. And you're like, wow, this is the sorest I've been. And I've been at this. That's definitely an indicator that you have a muscle group that's not adapted to the level that the others have. And it's probably because your quads have been taking over in a lot of your posterior chain movements and you're quad dominant. And so that your hamstrings have been just hanging out like, we're just here for the party. And they haven't been forced to adapt, but maybe you did something that isolated them and they could not hide. And that's why. So it is definitely interesting. And on that note, I don't want people to think, because I think this is really common in the fitness industry. I don't want people to think that they have to come up with these new and bizarro like movements
Mhm.
as a means to be sore. Like, oh, I'm not getting sore enough. So I need to do like a one leg hopping weighted
Oh,
on a
upside
on a
down.
Bosu ball. Like people are like they're getting wild. And I think that it's like really sexy too, because people are like, oh, that's a movement I never seen. So that's cool. Just because you've never seen it does not mean it's cool. If you've never seen it, it probably isn't that functional, because movements that you see in your everyday life are going to be mimicked in a lot of the functional movements we do. So it doesn't mean not to add new movements. Of course, we want to be constantly adding and changing and adapting, but it's not the more bizarre the movement, the sorer it makes me, the better it is for me. It's not necessarily that. We don't need to be, you know, um, like saying, okay, I want to make my calves really sore today, so I'll do 300 calf raises. Like that isn't really working in a functional way. So there's really no need for, coming up with crazy things to make a certain muscle group sore. It's probably just going to happen together on its own, and you don't need to go to crazy
Always
lengths.
like there's always variations, right? Like, the first example was just about running and talking about like a longer distance running as opposed to sprints. Like nothing was changed there. You're still running. You're just having a different workout. So you're just like having a variety in the things that you're doing. So I could be on a heavy squat cycle. And as soon as I go into more endurance squats where like my reps are higher, but my weight is lower. So I've been working with like 2 to 3 reps at a higher weight for weeks. And then I moving into like 12 to 15 reps at a lower weight. I'm going to experience some soreness. I'm doing the same movement, but I'm just doing it differently. We're having a variety in how we're training our muscles there. And it's going to like you can expect some muscle soreness from something like that.
Yeah, you gave a great example. We just had Jessie Graff, who is a ninja warrior at CVG, and she was telling Kelsey that she is working on her weighted pull-ups right now, and that's like her main focus. And that the other day she tried to do, her max pull-ups, just her body weight, unweighted, and that she was surprised at how they had gone down and how they were affected and how sore she was afterward, because it's just different even though it's a pull-up.
When her weight for doing a single weighted pull-up is the highest it's ever been, but her endurance for pull-ups is low for her right now.
And that's why we're constantly varying, because you definitely want to be giving your muscles all kinds of different stimuluses to make sure that they continue to adapt and grow and that you continue to make progress in fitness. But don't judge everything on soreness. I just don't want that to be the major indicator, because there's so many factors that they're finding out, like genetically people have like certain proteins that make them less likely to experience soreness. These people also happen to be more likely to be professional athletes. Is
Mhm.
that's kind of like interesting. But like your hormones are now being linked. People with more estrogen are they're
100%.
yeah, they're looking at that like being a limiting factor in how sore you are. And then your gender, like everything.
Here's the thing. Let me like speak to hormones for a second because like I have been doing a lot of experimenting with how I feel and that surrounding my cycle. And I think it's really important for women at a certain point to give this some attention because it plays a large role in your life. It plays a large role in my life. So I will notice that there are certain weeks during my cycle, regardless of what I'm doing, where I will have an increase in soreness. And I also have like the increase in like cravings. You can look at it in different ways, but your body is requiring different nutrients, it's requiring different stimulus for you, and if you're not listening to it, it's going to react in a specific way, right? So like there are times where I know that like if I do the same workout at a different week, a different time in my cycle, I will not be sore as I will if I do it right now.
It's
Like,
it's really interesting. I
mhm,
think like and just in general what we always say is like if you think you have it all figured out
it's gonna change.
and not only that, but if you think the answer when it comes to the human body is extremely simplistic, that's laughable. There's so many factors, and everyone is so unique and individually made. Like you could be following the exact same programming, the exact same amount of days a week as a friend, and you be completely destroyed and sore by a workout and her be like totally fine. And there's so many things at play there, not only not to mention the fact that like people perceive pain differently. Like you have different pain tolerance levels, you know? So, like, I just want everybody to know you're not going to judge this on this marker because there's so many factors. And like Kelsea said, changeable, like things that are changing throughout the month that may affect your soreness. So don't judge everything on your soreness.
Change
Don't,
through the years, like,
yeah.
that the same like, I could have done the same type of tracking 5 years ago, and I guarantee you I would have come up with a different result because my body is constantly changing. So, I think that, like, the same thing we brought up at the beginning of the podcast where, like, we're learning new information, like, don't be afraid to learn new information from your body as it is now and the feedback that it's giving you now. I think we get stuck in a place where sometimes once our body reacted to something in some way and we hold on to that years and years and years later, where like it's it's not the same. It's going to react differently now. You have your sleep patterns are different. Your hormones are different. Your the weight that you're carrying is different. Like everything about your life is likely very different than the person you're comparing it to on 5 years, 10 years ago. Sometimes a lot of times we're comparing our athletic selves to our athletic selves as we were in high school. Like you are not that
Which is
person.
laughable. That was a
You're
child.
not
That
that
was a
person.
child, literally.
That was a child, and it's just it's really important to get that feedback from your body and to be able to adapt to it with the information you're being given today.
Let's go through like some tried and true kind of soreness um
Ways to limit your yes.
remedies, if you will, because again, everybody's different and everybody's going to have their thing. But if you're just starting out and you're like, oh my god, this is really impacting my ability to want to go back to work out the next day, I think that the most important thing that people overlook is the fact that you do not want to stay still. That may be the only thing that you want to do. Like, when things are stiff and sore, like you want to immobilize them, because when you mobilize them, they send pain signals, which is really just inflammation. So when, an area is inflamed in your body, the pain receptors are going to flare up because that's what inflammation is. However, the more that you move, the better off you're going to be. It sounds counterproductive, but again, like Kelsea said in the beginning, like if you can, do some light movement, you are going to find, and specifically, like, she said, if you have a rest day immediately following a hard workout, you might find that like that increases your soreness. That is because of the lack of mobility. So I know this is going to sound really tough to people, but had you gone and done a light workout the day after a really difficult workout, you would have decreased both the level of your soreness and the length of your soreness. And I know it's sometimes the last thing people want to do. They're like, I cannot imagine back squatting right now. Like, I can barely walk down the stairs. But we're working at, a decreased capacity, decreased weight, even just an empty bar, even air squats is going to help you feel better.
Eat or walk. Like any type of movement. So like everyone's body is going to react differently, but the common denominator here is that you have broken down your muscle fibers and we need to build them back up. So what we're going to name is ways in you are assisting that repair. And the common denominator with assisting the repair is that we need to get blood flow to the area, because that is going to help your body assist in repairing those muscles. So if you want them to feel better faster, you need to assist in the repair process.
Everything we have is all,
it comes down to we need some blood flow.
Yeah, it's all like send the help, send help. And that comes in the form of like the more blood flow that gets into those muscles, the faster they can repair. Obviously, painkillers, I don't want people to overlook the fact that like if you're super sore the day after a workout and you want to use, an Advil or an ibuprofen or an Aleve, like whatever your thing is, and that is going to help you to be able to move the next day more than you would, then you want to do that, because that is just assisting your repair. I mean, you don't want to be at a point where you're taking, Advil after every workout. That's obviously not what we want to be doing. But like if you're just starting back at the gym or just starting out, it's totally fine and okay to take some painkillers after
inflammation a little bit.
Yeah, to just help, help decrease it and help yourself kind of move through it. You can use ice. That's definitely just going to kind of numb the nerve endings to reduce your pain, but it's definitely
the same thing. Also reduce the inflammation. Like that we're doing the same thing. Bring down the inflammation, numb the nerve endings.
And heat, obviously. I always like both. Why not both? Because like restricting blood flow and then bringing blood flow in the form of ice and heat is
there's like that contrast hot and cold treatments there. Like there's so many, like the places have come up like bigger with like hydrotherapy, like things like that, where it's become more popular if you can kind of handle it, if you can withstand it. But if you're just at home, like heat expands your blood vessels and cold constricts them. So if we are expanding the blood vessels and then we're constricting them, the blood moves through other parts of the body, increasing the blood flow, which in turn reduces the inflammation.
Yeah, go ahead and like use some tools too. Like I know that this is another thing that people are like, I don't want to do that I don't want to foam roll the day after a hard workout because it's uncomfortable, right? But like it's going to reduce your amount of time that you're uncomfortable and your level of uncomfortableness. So just do it, foam roll, get a little gentle massage going on yourself. And all you're doing when you're doing that is the same thing. It's just getting that blood flow into the muscles. And if you can, there's a little tools that you can buy, like almost look like a
torture devices.
Some people call them torture devices. Some people call them foam rollers. There's, things that look like rolling pins that are really good for like if you want to torture your own quads. Those are nice. Lacrosse balls are something that I highly recommend. And also, just get ready to have a little sensation of screaming, but it really does help in the end. It's so worth it. And also put on your leggings. Compressive clothing is actually really helpful. And so like put on leggings the day after that don't put on jeans. It's not going to help your your blood flow at all to your muscles.
Definitely. Hot baths promote blood
Oh,
flow
I love a hot
and help your
bath.
muscles relax, which is, if anyone lives in a colder climate during some portions of the year and you notice that you are a little bit sorer in the winter time, you're not crazy because your body is already, so like you have some like sore kind of like inflamed muscles, right? And then you're not getting like a ton of blood flow going on there, and your muscles are kind of contracted all the time because you're a little bit colder. Like they're not easily relaxed as they are in the heat. So you might notice yourself being a little bit sore in the wintertime, but a hot bath can really help with some of that, get the blood flow going, and just help your muscles relax a little bit. My favorite two are, oh, well, I'm just going to put my favorite three, I guess. Food. So, the most underused repair process in your body is food. You're constantly consuming it, and it is there to help your body repair. Like, that's what it's there. It's energy stores. So, like, protein helps your muscles repair, carbohydrates replace the glycogen in the muscles, which is depleted during exercise. So, you're depleting your muscles of, glycogen. And so carbs are going to replace that glycogen stores to build them back up. And protein is literally repairing your muscles. So if you are going through workouts where you are experiencing more muscle soreness and you're not having protein in your diet, you're not assisting in the repair process.
For sure. I always, when people are excessively sore, and they haven't really changed anything, it's not like they started a new program or it's not like they've done anything different. They're just finding that their soreness is up. I'm always looking
We
at
need
their
to look at
protein intake. Mhm.
your protein intake specifically. Most women are not eating enough protein. If you're not a meat eater, that's totally fine. I'm not talking about animal-based protein as being the sole source of protein. Just making sure that you are getting a significant amount of protein in your diet. And what happens with this is a lot as people have started working out or at the beginning of the, quote unquote, their fitness journey, is that they look to be in a caloric deficit where they're increasing their workouts or increasing the demand on their body, and they are decreasing the overall consumption, energy consumption, overall energy consumption that is coming into their body. And they're doing both of these at the same time. What I want to just shout from the rooftops to make sure that you're doing, because like how much pain are we inflicting on ourselves and that we are going to stick through, like that we are going to make this a part of our lifestyle. So
If something isn't enjoyable,
yes.
we're not going
Something
to come
like
back
I
to
want
it.
your body is gonna be really sore, it's gonna repair slowly, and you're not gonna have enough food. Like, what? Who is going to stick with that? Like, I can't, like, when you really break it down, you really just realize how asinine that is, and like how most people do not stick to their, diet plans when it looks like that. You are increasing your expenditure with your body. So that means you really need to look at your protein intake. You need to look at your carbohydrate intake and make sure that you're giving your body the best chance possible to repair your muscles in order to build them up. Hydration. Muscles contain a high concentration of water, and even the slightest bit of dehydration can increase the feeling of muscle soreness. So, obviously, in the summertime, this is a little bit worse because you're sweating a lot more. So you're in general, you can be a little bit more dehydrated. You just got to make sure you are drinking enough and that you think of your muscles. This is how I think of it because like I'm super visual. Is like when I feel my muscles being really sore and I just want to just like slide in there, alcohol consumption makes you dehydrated.
Yeah.
Do you, but alcohol consumption makes you dehydrated, so it is going to increase your soreness. Just saying. But I think of it like this. My muscles, like after I'm feeling a little bit dehydrated, I picture them like a raisin, like they started out as a grape. And then just sucked all of the water out of it. And now I'm just like going around with these like dehydrated raisins. And that's how I get myself to drink more water, because I'm like, look at those quad raisins.
Look at you, you little quad raisin. What do you? You're not like. How could a raisin have the same amount of flexibility and movement as a grape? I mean, yeah, totally. I get it. I love it. I love that.
And then just sleep. I just want to throw in there sleep, because I'm going to mention sleep with every single podcast.
That's the goal. That's the goal. You want to be healthy. You want to be fit. You have to sleep.
You have to sleep. Like, you just have to do it, because like we're talking about what are the things that are going to repair your body, and we know, when does repair happen? It happens when you're sleeping. So if you are, and it's this other, isn't that the weird thing too when we start fitness routines? A lot of people, take it from their sleep time. Okay, I'm going to start a new fitness routine. I'm going to decrease the time that I'm sleeping. I'm going to decrease my food intake, and I'm going to increase my expenditure with my body. This is going to work out, right?
You're going to be super sore.
I know we have to work with all of those things together, that if we're going to break it down, we're going to build it back up. And you have to give it the tools to build it back up.
And that always is more comfortable when you are in, as one with your body, rather than hating it, fighting it, being angry with it, trying to punish it. These things come easier when you're thinking of your body as a tool to bring you through life, and something that you really want to take care of and cherish. And I just wanted to briefly mention, about the fact that there is a two-sore. And we would be remiss if we did a podcast on soreness and we did not say that there is a dangerous level of sore. You can absolutely do damage to your kidneys. And things that you're looking for is like, you should never be sore during a workout. Like, that's not sore. That's injury. You should never be sore like immediately after, like you just finished your workout and you're already sore. That's a sign of something different. There's really no reason that you should be immobily sore, like pain that is excessive for more than 3 days after a workout. That is an indication that you went a little bit too hard. And I want people to understand that the way to longevity, especially if you're just coming back to the gym, is not to go 150, do the hardest workout you could possibly think because you haven't worked out in 6 months and you deserve the pain. Like, no, that is going to make you so sore that you can't come back tomorrow. And that is not the way to a consistent, sustainable life of fitness. It's just not. So, getting yourself so overly sore and thinking of that as a win, it's just not. You're not going to be able to function for the next couple of days. So there's a level that's appropriate, and then there's a level that's not. And obviously, if you have changes in your urine, that's what we're looking for as a dangerous level for your kidneys. Like, you don't want dark urine after a workout. You don't want a noticeable decrease in urine production, because that's kidney damage. And, you definitely need to seek medical attention if that's the case. But most times, SOAR is necessary, SOAR is appropriate, and SOAR is unavoidable. It's just really going to be about how you approach your fitness and your life and the relationship that you have with your body on making sure that your level of SOAR is appropriate and making sure that you respond to it in a way that is going to help your body and not set you back more.
Absolutely. Hopefully this was very helpful for you and you feel like you are a player in the in with your body, that you can assist with the repair process, because you absolutely can. It's not just this thing that happens like without your control, and you just are like, well, I'm just sore beyond belief and I have no way of helping the repair process. You do have help. You do have help in the repair process and making sure that your body has what it needs. So hopefully this was really helpful for you guys. Enjoy your workouts. We love you.